Hunted by the Empire, feared by the criminal, trusted by the desperate. If you can find them, you might be able to hire the alien team. Alright folks, so we're doing head swaps to make some aliens here. It's pretty straightforward as far as that part goes. These guys are inspired by Forlom and Zuckuss, and you know that actually was confusing back in the day because they named the action figures the wrong thing. So I got my hands on a bunch of these extra dragonflies. I was going to go camping and I wanted them to combat the flies at the camping ground, and well, didn't end up going camping. I think these ended up being less than $1 a piece for the dragonflies. I got a whole bunch of them off of Temu. So we're going to use the tail of the dragonfly for the alien gun here on this version of Zuckuss. I think they're called Gan or Gran as far as the aliens go. And yes, these are a little bit larger than the standard 28mm figures, but you know, I play pretty loose with the scale with my minis. Alright, so here we're just taking some baking soda and some Instaset to make a little like putty. We're just going to fill in this huge gap on the back of the neck here. The thing is this allows you to kind of sculpt it just a little bit, kind of like wet sand. And once you have a satisfactory kind of fill there, just dropping in that super glue, it becomes just about rock hard. Now I do end up covering this with a small piece of bendy straw later. We're going to take a piece of that blue shop towel, and we're going to make him a battle skirt or comma, I don't know what you're going to call it. And so we're just going to tack the corners on with CA glue, with my crazy glue there. And then once that is all in place, we're going to shape it down. Trim it, rag it up the edges. And we'll take a little bit of glue, some water, mix that up, saturate the whole thing so it can kind of pose it and make it more dynamic. Helps it fit into scale a little better, makes it look a little bit more interesting. A little tear, a little shaping, like it's moving in the wind. And then I love this trick. We're going to use some cheap fingernail, little lead press-on nail type things, trimmed down to be the armor. As good as these army guys are, as much wonderful detail as they have, I just want to beef it up a little bit here, make it a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more intriguing. And then one last pose on the little skirt thing, we set that aside. And I have these other, off with their head, and we have this other dragonfly here. I got about 2 different sets. The heads are a little bit different, so I figured I'd make another one here. And right here you see I did not put a peg in it, which, give or take, you see that it has some benefit to have a little wire between there. Moving right along, off with this guy's head. Alright, so this one, I was trying to do the dog-like characters from, the Clitonians from Star Wars here. They're on Jabba's sail barge, they're in Mandalorian. But as I'm working on it, I realized it looks kind of like a Ugnaught, so even though he's not small, maybe you could use a dog head for a few different kinds of aliens. But this is a pretty straightforward one here. Just going to knock that on there. And, you know, back to the great standard practice of using a wire to plug it in place. And he already looks pretty beefy. Yeah, see, he's pretty nice. Give him some armor too. Some little shoulder bells or pauldrons. And we'll come back and do some more detail on him in a little bit. Okay, so this character from, Anacondan. So we're using a snake from Kung Fu Panda here. This was something I picked up at the dollar store. I don't know that you can still find these or not. We're just gonna make a little bit of a collar out of two different kinds of straws here. One is the little bendy straw part, and then the part that goes on the underside there is just smooth. So these plastic Q-tips, you pull off the fluff, it gives an interesting little detail on the end. We're just gonna use a small bit of foam core board, a couple of different punch outs there to add some detail. We're just making this massive quad gun on this snake character here. So there are a couple of different snake characters in Star Wars, and I just kind of thought it might be interesting and a little bit more alien to use one of these guys. All right, so early on, you're not gonna be able to tell what I'm doing here, what alien it is. Give me a guess down below. Guess what I'm doing here. You'll see by the end. I just want this arms and gun. And so I'm able to get the guns trimmed off, but ultimately I can't get through the body parts. So I have to run out to the garage where the big Grumble is. And then we'll just pop off the arms of old Buzz Lightyear here. And yeah, we're gonna get the big old gun on there. I don't really need these wings. Clip the wings. No need for him to have wings. Just baking soda and super glue for the filler on that. Off with his head. Yeah, this is definitely a head swap-a-rama video here. We're doing that a lot to make these aliens. Get him knocked onto a base. And time to figure out the head. Yeah, that one doesn't work. There we go. Have you figured it out yet? Yep. I am doing a hammerhead, also known as an Athorian within Star Wars. No, this is not a perfect Athorian or hammerhead, but I feel like by the end it makes a pretty good looking alien here. And I just love the whole like spacesuit thing. It kind of helps hide the seam line quite a bit. This is my little desktop Dremel. This isn't the big beefy one in the garage. Trim up the seam lines. We're just gonna go ahead and install that head. Pretty pleased there. Now, I don't show it, but I use just the teeniest amount of UV resin to put a couple droplets for eyes on him. You'll see those when I do a reveal on him later. He's got these wonderful shiny eyes. All right, let's get back to my Clitonian here. We're gonna make a belt buckle here. So I use my small punch and then my large punch to do an offset there, so it gets this interesting kind of like half moon shape. So this is one of the pipe cleaners I burnt the fluff off of. It still sounds like a hate crime against a furry. Anyway, so we're just making these little like rope dangly bits off the front here. They're just going onto the back of that buckle. And then I do end up having to trim just a small piece of the top of that buckle off so it fits on that waistline better. There we go, just a little bit. Like it's behind the arms. Alright, and so we're going to get some of these small beads. I'm going to use these as like thermal detonators. I'm just using the toothpick to hold them so that I can glue them in place. And just do that a few times. I think I put a total of 4 on here. Alright guys. You keep asking for aliens every time I do more aliens, so here's another round of aliens. I am glad to keep doing aliens. I just need the input from you folks. If you want to see me try to do a specific alien, comment below. You just want to see me go hog wild and do other aliens, comment aliens below. I'm glad to keep doing this. It is a lot of fun for me. Let's start working on modifying that gun. And just with some toothpicks, a little bit of sanding to give me some flat edges to glue. It's kind of inspired by Mando's big old rifle. So we get a spike on the top, I'm going to do a spike on the bottom. So I will create a separate playlist that is got all of my custom alien videos. If I show you how I do an alien in the video, like with my converting a Adorables land speeder to a tabletop land speeder, I have a Twi'lek in there, those kinds of things. I'll put those in there too. Just using a bit of a bread tie. That's some wonderful styrene plastic here. Just going to make an axe for my guy here on the bottom of his weapon. So full teams in Warhammer and other game sets can be pretty pricey, and I feel like this is a great alternative. Just knock yourself together some awesome figures. Now we got to dress that up a little bit too. So we're gonna use more hole punch. We're just gonna cut one of these in half, put one on either side of that axe. This is gonna do two things for me. One, not only does it add a little bit of detail, but it also helps support that as it gives a more surface for the glue on that little piece of plastic, and just another small hole punched disc to add more detail. Kind of like it's a vibro axe on the bottom of that. Now, of course, these guys, even though I'm inspired by Star Wars, we're gonna put two poker chips together to get a thicker base. No, I'm inspired by Star Wars and love that because I'm a big old geek, but of course you could use these for Space Weirdos or any other kind of game there. Stargrave. And there's the Hammerhead, kind of did him in the classic Kenner toy paint job. And there's the Doghead boy. Looks pretty good. And the snake I chose to do red. We're going to do a little bit of more detail paint on that fella in a minute. The running one, I used a Warhammer jump pack with the thrusters cut off to add a little bit more detail to that one. So we're going to use just a little bit of this mica powder on the eyes here. I painted them glossy black, so that's already a good receptor for this little powder. And then I also think maybe, come on, give me a good, there we go. See, it adds some wonderful texture there. Let's also do the edge of the gun as though it's been, you know, affected by its heat after being fired in battle. It's just got that damage. A little bit of gloss varnish on the eye and the weapon where I put that powder. And I do this twice, so it gets a nice coat on the whole thing, and it kind of implies the whole thing. So taking a little bit of black and a skewer and just doing a tiny little kind of pointillism, little diamond-ish shape to imply a little bit of texture on this one. And I'm not super satisfied with it, but it ends up looking all right. A little bit of lava rock. We're just gonna put these on a handful of the bases, all these bases, just kind of make it cohesive. And then kind of last step here, we're gonna get them all ready for some sand basing. So we're taking that PVA glue, we're just gonna glob a bunch onto the base, and then we're gonna fine tune that coverage with a wet brush. Just kind of make sure it goes everywhere you want it. And then just like any other kind of simple basing, we're gonna break out the sand and just pour it over all that. You may need to repeat that if you didn't get good coverage somewhere. Just go back in and do it again. And then the glamour shots. Look at this alien team here. So they stay on budget. I think I spent maybe a total of $10 for the whole thing. Probably less. Hey, if you've hung out this long, I want to say thank you. If you have not subscribed, go ahead and do that. Don't miss out on whatever's coming up next. Remember, you're awesome. Have a great day.